What's up guys, Manny from Motomillion. Welcome to another exhaust video. It's another exhaust video today, and it's another Akrapovic exhaust, but we're gonna do things a little differently. I read all your comments, guys. You guys have some very valid questions, and sometimes you don't have the exact answers, but today we're gonna have the answers for it. But before we get all to those parts, let's see what we have over here. We have an Akrapovic Slip-On, we have a carbon fiber heat shield, and right here we have an official Ducati mod. This is the airbox mod. I'll talk about it more when we're installing it. This is supposed to do wonders for this motorcycle. Of course, after this video, on another video, we'll do a ride video because it seems like you guys loved the ride video of our 2025 Panigale before that, somewhere back there on the shot. But what's different on this video? I have a sound meter, a decibel meter. We're gonna pull this bike out. We're gonna measure the volume of the exhaust stock, cold start, and then once it warms up, we'll do some revs, and then we'll repeat the same exercise when the exhaust is on so that we know exactly the difference in sound in terms of decibels. So enough talking, more working, or more making noise, and then we'll get to installing these beautiful parts. All right, the bike's outside. It's been about a month that this bike hasn't started, so it's really cold, and we just pulled it out of AC. And decibel meter's on. I'm gonna turn it on, take about 3 steps away from the back of the mufflers, so it's about 6 feet away. We'll get the reading, and then once it warms up, I'll give it a few revs. That way we see how loud it is or how loud it is not with the stock exhaust, and then we'll repeat the process once we get our exhaust on this bike. So here we go. Let's see if I remember how this thing turns on still. Peaking around at 86. When I speak, it's going to go higher, but okay, let's let it warm up a little bit and then we'll give it a few revs. All right, the bike is warm, the fans are running. I'm gonna rev it up to 5-6K, and we're gonna read the decibel meter reading, and then we'll repeat everything with the exhaust on. The bike is nice and warm for me to work on, and I'm being sarcastic because it's not nice to work on a warm bike to change the exhaust, but we'll get through it. So by the time that it's still cooling, let's unbox some of the stuff. So this is the DBK exhaust heat shields. The Akrapovic uses the stock exhaust heat shields, and it's one of the reasons why I chose the Akrapovic. As you know, we're not paid by anybody to use any other parts or to say nice things about them. We're just doing things to our own bikes over here, and we're showing you what we do. And just like any other video, all the products that I'm showing is in the link in the description below. So let's take a look at this. This is gonna look cool, I think, with the Akrapovic exhaust. I'm putting these on the ground. So this is our exhaust heat shield. Obviously there's 2 of them, there's 1 in there. And then let's talk about this part real quick, right? So I said this thing is supposed to do wonders. I actually looked up some of the numbers that people have put online. Ducati doesn't tell you exactly how much power you're supposed to gain, but this little plastic piece, this is your airbox lid. And this is supposed to give you, on the stock ECU, on the stock filter, even without an exhaust, it's supposed to give you at 7,000 RPM range around 6 horsepower at the wheel on a bike that's dynoing at around like 60 horsepower. So it's going to be 66, 67 horsepower in that range with this. And then above, I think at 8,000 RPM, there's a huge dip. We'll find the dyno graph and we'll just put it up there. It's not our dyno graph. We haven't dynoed it yet, but we believe it because there's multiple people, and also Hypermotard King, who's dynoed this bike, and this thing does really do wonders. Up top, it doesn't gain a whole lot because the ECU is still locked. I think if you flash it, there's a lot more to gain up top, but this thing makes it gain power all over the place. Up top, maybe very little, probably I don't know, 5%, but the mid-range, this is gonna do wonders. And then let me open this up because I gotta find to see if they have instructions. It should be fairly straightforward, but I don't wanna take apart anything that I don't wanna take apart. This is our exhaust instructions. Come on. We got this. We'll open them up after though. I'm not gonna show you everything in the beginning. We gotta get you to watch them. So we got 2 exhaust pipes or mufflers. What is this? Documents. This is new, guys. I've never seen this. Let's see what kind of documents it comes with. Approval certificate. This is they usually have very nice instructions, but English, quick steps. Okay. So that's to let the bike cool down. Wow, I'm sorry to say, but this is pretty lackluster for instructions. The Akrapovic usually comes with a big piece of paper showing with pictures and everything, and that's what I wanted to see in here. There's one more thing in here. These are our springs and washers, which now we don't know where they go because the instructions are not right. I'm gonna try to go online and take a look as well. What is this? This is just the certificate that it is approved for emissions. But let me jump online. I'm going to try to find the instructions and then I'll start tearing it apart so that we can install these mufflers on it, our carbon fiber heat shield, and our airbox mod. All right, I'm feeling old right now because they put a QR code for the instructions because I was pretty distraught to see that there's no proper instructions. Let's see if it pulls it up and then my smile will get bigger, if it could get any bigger anyways, because we're doing an exhaust. All right, there we go. It's got pictures on there, so now we're good. Okay, stock mufflers are out. Super easy to do. It'd be much easier if it was cold. That's why I had the rag in my hand, just to insulate myself a little bit, because it is actually pretty hot, much warmer than I thought it's going to be. So let's open these things up very carefully without scratching the mufflers and see what the Akrapovic looks like. And of course we're going to weigh the things to see if there's any difference in weight. There we go. So here it is. Let's take a look at it. I think they look cool. That was one of the factors of making a decision on this exhaust system, was the looks of it. I actually really like this. Unfortunately, you can't remove any kind of dB killer or anything like that from it. Or can you? There's a hole here, but I don't know where that hole leads to. But we'll mess around with it in a little bit. But I don't think you can remove the silencers off of it. But either way, we're going to put them on the scale, see what we saved in terms of weight, if we saved any, and then we'll put it back on. We'll put a carbon piece on, the airbox piece, and we'll do a sound check right away. 8.92 pounds for the stock, right here. Let's put the Acra. Very close in weight. And the Acra exhaust is 8.66 pounds, so 0.26 pounds of savings. So quarter pounds of savings. You can go have a quarter pounder burger at McDonald's after you install this exhaust. Stock heat shields are at 0.72 pounds. And this is what happens when you don't save enough weight on an exhaust. You just start weighing everything to say, look what we saved. So there you go. You save more weight with the heat shields than with the exhaust. And let's see what's going to weigh. So it's weighing at 0.38. Actually, it's 0.34 pounds that we saved with the heat shields. Well, there's first for everything, and it's the first time that Akrapovic has failed us for something. Let me show it to you. This muffler has the points to attach your exhaust heat shields, and they're supposed to be threaded, or you're supposed to put clips. So these have threads in it, and this one doesn't, and it didn't come with clips. Instruction doesn't show any clips, and the stock one does not have any clips that we could transfer over. We got to find some clips to use in here so that we could actually properly attach our heat shields on it. It's not the wrongdoing of the carbon fiber heat shields by DBK, because the DBK heat shields are the same exact way for the stock muffler and this one. It's just that I think someone forgot to put the threaded little inserts that this part has on this part. We'll reach out to Akrapovic after this video. And if you're watching Akrapovic, that's not good. All right, this is the left side muffler, right side muffler is on the bike. The heat shields are on. I improvised. I didn't have a body clip. It would have made things a lot easier. And body clips are the clips that you have around the bike that's U-shaped that hold the fairings in place. You know exactly what I'm talking about. If not, just Google it, you'll see it. Either way, I used a nut and an unthreaded sleeve that held this in place. We're lucky because I keep every single nut and bolt and the hardware that's left over from any bikes that we do. It saved us in this case. I'm pretty sure by the time that you view this video, Akrapovic would have remedied this problem because this is one of the first production runs of these exhaust systems. Either way, let me get it on the bike, then we do the airbox lid cover, then this bike goes outside and we get some decibel meter readings. Stock airbox lid is here. The Ducati Performance is on there. It's easy to see the differences. This is completely solid, maybe a little hole over here. This thing is completely open. Very straightforward swap, very easy to do, especially I think it's a must on these bikes. On the dyno, it showed 15% power gain, around 7,000 to 8,000 RPM, which is huge when you're talking about a lightweight bike that doesn't do a lot of power at the rear wheel anyways because it's a single cylinder bike. But the stock air filter leaves a lot to be desired. There is all of this gasket material around it that's not been applied nicely. It's robbing a lot of airflow, which means it's robbing a lot of power. We already know that the air filter also adds to the power quite a bit. Not as much as of the cover, but it does quite a bit compared to any other bike that we usually deal with. Either way, let me put this thing back together. I want to see how it sounds with this Akrapovic exhaust, and then on another video, we'll do a ride video to see if you can actually feel any of the power differences that this thing is promising us. Well, it's the moment you all been waiting for, and I've been waiting for as well. The exhaust is installed. It's just mufflers. We can't remove the dB killers from the specific setup that we have, but we really want to see how much of a difference it makes. So I'm going to start the bike. The bike is semi-cool. It's not as cold as it was on the earlier shot when we had the stock mufflers on it. I'll take 3 steps away, get the decibel meter reading, and then once it warms up a little more, we'll give it some revs around the same, I think it was 5,000 to 6,000 RPM to see if there's any big difference in noise. I know there's big difference in the looks of it, which we'll talk about in a second, but let's go ahead, start this thing up. It is louder. All right, the bike is fully warmed up. Let's give it some revs and to see if there is any difference in sound at higher revs as well. All right, this was a fun and quick little episode where we installed the Akrapovic Slip-On on our Hypermotard 698. The decibel meter reading showed you guys that it is a little louder on the lower revs and it's just a little louder on the upper revs. So this exhaust is for you if you don't want to attract way more attention that this bike already does. And we chose it because we love the looks of it. And that was the main reason why I chose the Akrapovic, even though I knew that I can't remove those dB killers off of this exhaust. If you want a louder exhaust, we have the Aero slip-ons already available for the Hypermotard 698. They're also a little shorter and they look a bit different. In terms of looks, we added the DBK carbon fiber exhaust heat shields. It is a satin finish. I love to mix up gloss and satin. These end caps are gloss and these heat shields are satin, so it gives it that perception of depth on the bike when you look at it. And what you don't see right now is that airbox lid that we added, which is supposed to add 15% more power without a tune in the mid-range of this motorcycle, but that's for another video for me to say if it did or not, because we're going to take this thing for a ride. I'm itching to ride this now after we added these slip-ons onto it, but I know what you want. You want me to start this up and give it some more revs. So if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Until next time, guys, let's hear this.